Well, hi there, YouTube. My name is Andrew, and welcome to CPTV. Boy, do we have a great show lined up for you today. We are going to be talking about all things Antarctica. And I am so happy to introduce our guest today. We have the fabulous Theresa Scalzitti, Chief Operations Officer here at Cruise Planners. Hi, Theresa.
Hi, Andrew.
How's it going?
Great.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we have a lot of cool stuff to talk about, but why don't you tell our viewers about Cruise Planners, a brief little synopsis if they don't know.
I would love to. So yes, Cruise Planners is the largest home-based travel franchise company in the nation. We have over 2,500 franchisees throughout the United States, and all of them provide amazing travel planning services. So imagine you as a consumer, I'm sure you've planned a vacation before.
One or two.
And it takes a long time to really plan that family vacation or that getaway with your spouse or your friends. There's a lot of planning that goes into it. You know, where do I go? Where do I stay? What do I do? How do I get there? Well, working with a Cruise Planners travel advisor takes the hassle out of all of that. And the services are free, and they will recommend to you the best places and the best time of year to go and to any destination that you want to visit. We also have exclusive pricing and offers that many times you cannot find anywhere else. So even if you were to go direct to the supplier, you will find a better deal with working with your Cruise Planners agent.
Amazing, amazing. So Antarctica, right? Not the most, well, let's say, kind of remote, right? Very remote. And, you know, we're obviously in the industry, and it's a hot destination, right? People are talking about it, and everyone there's a buzz.
Yes. It's becoming a lot more accessible, which I love, right? Because a long time ago, it maybe was just a place where scientists would go to study, you know, the ice and the marine life and so forth. But honestly, the polar regions in general, the Arctic and Antarctica, are becoming a lot more accessible. And the reason for that is there's so many new companies that are going into this market to try to bring this experience to the everyday consumer.
Right.
And, you know, yes, it might be a little more expensive than your typical Caribbean cruise, but it is a once in a lifetime experience, truly. And I'm happy that I have been able to experience both of the polar regions, and it's something incredible and something you would not forget.
And that's really why you're here. We want to hear all about your amazing vacation. But I did want to kind of start off with, what do you think is the best time to visit? Because anyone that I know that has traveled to Antarctica has said it's almost like going to another planet, because it doesn't even look like you're on Earth, and it's such a bucket list destination. So when do you think the best time to visit would be?
Well, so it's, you know, South America, basically.
Correct.
So they are on the opposite, you know, winter summer schedule than we are. So their summer is actually our winter. So the best time to go is between November and March. And that's typically, peak time might be around December. So a lot of people might go over their, you know, holiday break, you know, your winter break, maybe even if you have kids, and we'll talk about that in a minute. I would love to talk about our experience taking my kids to Antarctica. But that is the time frame, typically November through March.
Okay, very cool. And how do you get there?
Yes, it's definitely so. Typically, it depends on the supplier that you work with, but a lot of times you will fly into Argentina, and then you will take another flight to Ushuaia, which is the very tip of South America, another beautiful place to be, the southernmost end. And then from Ushuaia is where you typically board the ship, and the ship will then cross the Drake Passage. If you haven't heard of the Drake, it could be a little daunting.
We've heard of the Drake Shake, right?
It could be either the Drake Lake
or the
Drake Shake. And honestly, you don't know which one you're going to get.
Right.
But that transit typically takes about 2 days to cover the Drake and to get to the area that you want to cruise around in Antarctica.
Wow. Okay, so now that we figured out when to go, so some of the suppliers that Cruise Planners works with, well, all of the suppliers that we work with, can get you there, right? So name some of them off if you can.
So as I was saying before, there's so many new companies that have come into this market, and then there's some that have been in this market for a while. So the ones that are a little bit more of a legacy are your Hurtigruten, Lindblad, But some of the newer ones are Penant and Silver Seas and Atlas Ocean Voyages, which is very new as well.
Well, why don't you tell us about Atlas Ocean Voyages?
Sure. So I am extremely honored to be the godmother of a ship for Atlas Ocean Voyages, the World Traveler, which is how I was able to have the experience to go to Antarctica with my family. So it's a great honor.
So tell us about that experience on Atlas with your family.
So I was able to bring my entire family on board. We had the naming ceremony in Antarctica, which was incredibly exciting. And we were on board for about a week.
Mm-hmm.
We did the Drake both ways. We actually had the Drake shake both ways. But it was an amazing experience. And I can just tell you that seeing it for the first time, it is literally just islands of ice. Beautiful scenery though, especially on a nice sunny day. The water is gorgeous. These beautiful icebergs everywhere, floating ice, penguins and seals and whales. We saw so many whales just literally sitting in the observation lounge, going through these beautiful fjords and passages where whales would just come up everywhere.
Right.
And then when you do your landings onto. So typically a typical day in Antarctica is in the morning, you get off and you go into a Zodiac and they break you up into groups.
Can you explain to our viewers what a Zodiac is? Some of them might not even know.
So a Zodiac is like a inflatable, but it's really
a raft.
A raft,
yeah.
but it's tough.
It's not
tough
like a
as
dinghy.
nails. Right, the Navy SEALs use it.
Yeah.
Very tough, but very comfortable. They help you get on and off into the Zodiacs and off. Of course, you're all suited up. Many of the companies will actually give you parkas, free parkas that you can take home with you. They give you, your safety vest and all of that. And they have guides on every single one of the Zodiacs, naturalists. A lot of them focus on very different things. Some of them are there because they specialize in birds, or they specialize in environmental studies like the changing of the ice. You name it. So somebody has a different kind of focus, all of the different naturalists, and it's very cool. But they'll share with you what this area is about, because each area is a little bit different and has a different history. There could be, research stations in some of the areas that we visit. So typically a typical day is you would get off in the Zodiac and you would either do a landing, which means then you would go somewhere, you would get off the Zodiac and you would do a little hike. You might be surrounded by different types of penguins and again seals and so forth, and you can go and take pictures, and somebody will be there to guide you along the way, explain what you're seeing as far as wildlife. And then at a certain point in time, it's time for you to go back in the Zodiac and head back to the ship, and then you can have a beautiful lunch on board.
Right.
So you're off and you're in this rugged area where not a single person lives, and then you come back to this beautiful ship and have a gorgeous lunch. And then typically in the afternoon you do another what they call excursion, where you go out, and it could either be again a landing, or where you just stay in the Zodiac and you kind of circle around and you go around the icebergs and learn about just whatever it is that they want to share with you of the destination and the location that you're at that day.
And all of these vessels, right, are designed to go to this remote place, right? We're not talking about giant cruise ships, right? So
Correct.
The ideal guest for someone who would want to go on an epic vacation like this, who would that be?
So it's typically somebody who has that explorer mindset. Right. Maybe, and honestly, sometimes it could be somebody who's never even cruised before.
Right.
They want to go to these remote destinations, and cruising is really the best way, and almost sometimes
the only way, right,
to get there. So I actually met a lot of people who had never cruised before, but then I also met a lot of people who cruising they love, and they've done Caribbean, they've done Alaska, they've done Europe, and they're looking for something new and different. And this is definitely new and different. I would say, budget-wise, it does tend to be a little more on the expensive side, but it is a once-in-a-lifetime adventure, and something that you will never forget, and totally worth every penny. And not crazy expensive either, but just in comparison, if you normally would do a 7-night Caribbean, it's going to be, a little bit more than that. I think prices typically, may start around $4,000, $5,000, and then go up depending on the suite that you wish to take.
Sure. And the brand, of course,
and
all
the brand
different.
is all different, and they do have different inclusions. But you asked about the ships. The ships are smaller. Typically, they only hold maybe 200 to 300 passengers. They are usually some degree of an icebreaker type of ship, depending on the degrees, and which means that if there is ice in the water, you don't have to be worried about the ship hitting a block of ice, because they can kind of cut right through the ice.
They're designed for this
they're designed,
environment.
Exactly.
Right.
And in fact, it's one of the most interesting parts of cruising along on the ship is just kind of seeing some of these big pockets of ice that the ship just kind of goes right through and churns up the ice. It's really something to see.
Yeah, and we're very fortunate here at Cruise Planners to interact with all of these brands. And what I find so incredible is all of the conservation that goes in with these different brands, what they're bringing to the environment, what you're learning on the ships.
Yes.
And as you said before, the naturalists, they really, I mean, this is an educational experience on top of being a vacation. You learn so much.
And they have, and what else is really cool is that at the end of every day, then there's a meeting in their theater where all of the naturalists and the guides will come and go over again where you went, what you saw, what's the historic relevance of where you were. They'll talk about the marine life, the birds, anything that you happen to see that day. And a lot of them are photographers as well, because imagine they're in these beautiful places. And then they share some of their photography with you that they took that day. And it really, again, just re-emphasizes where you are in this very remote part of the earth, and it just kind of helps you understand what you're seeing and what you're experiencing.
For sure. And expedition travel, as you know more than anybody, it has just exploded, right?
Yes.
Post the pandemic, everyone is, the bucket list, they're trying to get out there and do something that they've never, done. And it's hard to go to a theme park for that money these days.
True.
It's
very true.
Everything is relative and expensive, but to have this kind of experience, and I'm living vicariously through you. I didn't even go. I saw it online. It looked pretty amazing. But so is there anything, a takeaway that you would give us that is like a little insider tip that our viewers might not know, that is only coming from the godmother of Atlas Ocean Voyages ship?
There's so many things. So again, the Drake.
Yep.
Obviously. So.
How scary was the Drake shake? I mean, were you throwing up? Were you?
No, but there were some people who were not feeling so great, but that's okay.
So pack the Dramamine.
Pack the Dramamine. A lot of people maybe have the pressure points or the patches, and they worked fine. And everybody handles it very differently, but there's always a nurse and a doctor on board. So they could even give you a shot if you need special care.
Yeah.
But I've also talked to our advisors who have been since me, and it could have been like literally the cruise right after me, where they're
smooth sailing, no pun intended, right?
So you really don't know. I do want to mention though, if you have a concern about going through the Drake, a lot of our suppliers now offer, Atlas Ocean Voyages offers it, as well as Silver Sea. They offer a fly over, so basically you're not going through the Drake. You can fly out of the part of Argentina, and then you fly into Antarctica, and then you
land
fly
where in
Antarctica.
In
there's
Antarctica.
A place,
there's a strip, like a landing.
Right, exactly,
okay.
and then pick up the ship there.
Oh wow!
And then you fly back. So if there are people who are really just nervous about going through the Drake, then you have that option as well.
Yeah, I did. See, that's the perfect insider tip. I didn't even know, because we've heard about the Drake shake, and if you've only sailed the Caribbean, it can be some kind of intimidating. But
for me, I loved it. But I'm like a adventure junkie. I love roller coasters. I've been skydiving. So for me, I thought it was super cool.
Yeah.
Others not so much. But I think it just depends on your level of what you can take.
Right. And we can go into, there's so many different options, which is also amazing. And your Cruise Planners Travel Advisor can tell you about all the different options in Antarctica. But you mentioned it a little bit earlier, you can get back on this exquisite vessel, have an amazing lunch, go back to your luxury suite, and I mean, it's like the hotel is following you along to this incredible destination.
And everything's included.
Right.
All of these excursions from the Zodiac and the Naturalists. And again, they give you a great parka, so you don't have to pack it. Right. They give it to you. You can bring it home. They give you boots. They have like these basically kind of like a mud room, let's say, where there's lockers. So you go and that's where you get suited up for your excursions to go out. You can keep everything in there. Depends. I've been on a few ships. So some have like a warming closet inside your cabin where you can put everything in a warming closet.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then others have more of like a locker room style, but very high end, very nice locker room style where you can keep everything in a locker. So that way it doesn't even have to come back to your room.
Okay, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I get excited
nice.
with the heated seats in my car, so that's
Yes,
very cool.
Exactly. They typically always give you access to binoculars so that you can take those out on the trip if you don't want to bring your own. Also, there's usually a synopsis, like a video that they do every cruise where you can go and buy it so you can get video of the entire experience. So maybe, you know, that way you can feel like you can sit there and enjoy it and then just buy the video so you don't have to figure out how to, let me make sure I video this and capture this, because they're all capturing it for you.
That's amazing. And there's some of these lines even have photography classes that you could take on board.
Yes.
And then, I mean, the picture is pretty epic.
Yes, exactly.
So, you know, there are a lot of moving pieces, I guess, to book a trip like this, right? And what is like the typical voyage? Is it like 10 days? Is it, I mean, it can be anything, but it's 10 days and usually up?
Typically 7 days and up.
7 days and
up.
up?
It could be 7 to 10 typically.
Okay.
I think even some maybe to 14.
I saw one that was like 21. It can even go up that high. Yeah.
Because because you could go around through Patagonia. And Chile and different areas, which is beautiful as well. We did sail through that area, and it was gorgeous. So I would go back for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you could, you know, depending on what your time allows, there's something that works for everybody.
Right.
And
your advisor can help you with the air and travel insurance.
Right.
All of put it all together that you don't have to worry about anything. And that's one of the major benefits of working.
And then you might want to fly in a day or two early, you know, to Brazil or wherever you're, you know, taking the ship from, depending on the supplier you're with. So, you know, they could work a pre-package or a post-package in for you, but they could help find the product that is right for you in the length of time. And perhaps something that's within your price range.
I was just going to say, and perhaps even an offer that Cruise Planners has an exclusive with the brand that you can't get just by going on their website.
Absolutely,
for sure. Theresa, thank you. This was great. I thank you so much for being here. I hope all of our viewers out there enjoyed this. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
And can't wait to hopefully go to Antarctica myself.
Yeah, I know. We have to get you out there.
All right. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. For exclusive offers and a complete personalized experience, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell for post notifications.